This is the Story of the Week podcast brought to you by the Conversation Project. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and this week, for the week ending February the 3rd, 2024, we are bringing you the story that was number 5 this week per your popularity in our feeds this week. Headline reads, Britney Spears fans troll Justin Timberlake by streaming her 2011 Selfish instead of his new song. Now, this week is a body slam of Mr. Timberlake, not because we're haters, because the cards just sort of fell in place this week. You can visit our website, theconversationproject.com, for more details about how we do news every single day and every 50 minutes, if you will. And our email address is theconversationinbox@gmail.com. So this is going to have a spotlight on Timberlake, of course, but we're actually showing how he's wronged 3 people over the span of 25 years. The inspiration for the story, number 1, Miss Spears. Also, a recent slight against Dakota Johnson, and a trip down memory lane with Janet Jackson, and yes, the wardrobe malfunction. Let's start with the source of the actual story this week. And A Showbiz, which is a blog that we get a lot of stuff from for the Conversation Project, had a story about Britney Spears going number 1 this week with a song from 2011, the week that Justin Timberlake released a brand new single called Selfish. Now, over the course of the day, after Selfish got some play, the fans of Britney Spears decided to do a little play on Mr. Timberlake and raise the stakes by playing the Selfish song, which is essentially kind of about him, over the new song by Timberlake. And what we got is Britney at number 1 for a day, while Timberlake's new song was great for a while, but could not beat out Britney and ended up at number 3 in the charts for the day. So that's how that worked out for iTunes, which is not so bad. But, on the same day, a song that was literally 20 years old is getting the play for it, or 10 years old, I should say, because that's 2011. We'll get the dates really messed up in this one because we go way back about 25 years to the start of their relationship to talk about things going on. So that was the Britney Army kind of getting back at Mr. Timberlake for something going on. But this story goes way, way, way back. A lot of the reasoning for the Britney fans thinking they need to stand up for her against Mr. Timberlake comes from a lot of things that have been released recently in her new autobiography. And it has been a telling tale. It's something I actually sat through and listened to in various stances I didn't really think that I'd be into Britney Spears and her background. But it was a very, very sad tale, if you will, of a person who was just literally looking for love in some places and wasn't quite getting it as she was becoming the breadwinner for her family and trying to find other people to just sort of bond with. Justin Timberlake being the person that seemed like the right guy and wasn't, and then other husbands and what's going on, of course, where she is right now. In the book, she sets regrets for any comments, past relationships, any comments and past things she did to concern Timberlake that may have hurt him in the process, essentially trying to be sorry for all the things that she helped to cause the issues, but highlighted all the things that happened in the situation, including being cheated on and the abortion that she had when she was pregnant with his child, and they weren't quite ready. And after that happened, the relationship essentially broke up. We'll go deeper in detail in just a moment about some of the timeline that we're going to thank Time Magazine for in the relationship to kind of go there and add some filler, to be honest. But a lot of these things happen because Britney has opened up about how just bad that Timberlake had been to her, and how we have seen in some cases Timberlake using that in his life, and people blaming Britney for the breakup and saying, oh, Justin's so wonderful and he just did this thing and Britney was so whatever. But we're finding out from her side, and Timberlake's not actually debating it, that things weren't exactly great on his side, and he was not such the great boyfriend, great friend in some cases, and in this case now ex-friend. We all know about that in relationships. Let's go doing some stuff down the rabbit hole in this timeline provided by Time Magazine. We'll have the link in the description of how to go through the full thing, because it's a long thing, a long detailed thing. It's like a 18-minute read of just Britney and Justin. Starting in 1992, December of that year, where they met on the stage at the all-new Mickey Mouse Club, and they started some bit of relationship. Essentially, their secret dating happened at that thing. Now, think about what may happen if she actually hooked up with J.C. Chasez or Chris Kirkpatrick, who were also on the team for the Mickey Mouse Club, as opposed to Justin Timberlake. We'd have totally different stories overhead. Maybe she'd hook up with a Backstreet Boy. You never really know. So the first public appearance happened about a year later, because they're young and they're cute and all that good stuff. They hang out at the VMAs, hang out at different things, and red carpet things happen for a while. The first time to do something that's really together, that's a big thing, happens when Britney and Justin perform in the Super Bowl XXX5. 35, I'm pretty sure if my number's right for Roman numerals. That's, of course, when Sync was there and Britney Spears was there as well. So it was something that was a group performance with the team, her boys, if you will, going there. And they started doing a bunch of other cute things and being around each other and all this other great stuff because it's all wonderful and what. Um, and things happen. Justin Timberlake actually makes a cameo appearance stepping in a monologue on Saturday Night Live on February the 22nd for Britney Spears. Hold that for a moment because we're going to get back to that when we get to the other slights coming through, and just kind of being a part of life. They have a great life together. They have a house together. They kind of stay together. They're doing great things together. Things get weird after a while. They have a red carpet appearance in 2002, and things started to kind of break down. Justin had kind of a bigger bracket of fame, and so he was doing stuff as Justin Timberlake and not really respecting the Britney Spears stuff and not really respecting their relationship. And in that time frame, what really happens is there's what we didn't find out until the actual autobiography was the relationship and the baby and the abortion that Britney Spears had, and just to kind of trauma about that. He appeared to be very sweet and along with this in what's going on, but it was one of those things that just happened. They break up at the end of 2022, and now we're talking about this stuff literally 20 years later as Justin Timberlake addresses things during a media bracket kit in an album he released 2 years ago. A lot of things going on. The Crimea River song essentially is a insult or a push that Britney Spears actually was cheating on him, when in her book she says he was cheating on her. All sort of things were happening. The media was going on. There was that very, very, very wild interview that Britney did after the breakup, where she was basically asking, Diane Sawyer is asking, "Why are you such a bad person?" Essentially, what it went to. So the problem goes down to the fact that everything happens and everything seemed like that. Everything kind of pushed down Britney. Britney started having her breakdowns. Britney started marrying different people. She had kids and her babies were great to her. And then that husband, Federline, was kind of Federlined and just turned into the whole weird thing. We're not even going to her current situation with her current husband, ex-husband, because that's not about this here. This is really about Justin. Justin apologized to Britney in 2001, which was great. He blamed himself. Actually, he kept blaming Britney all the time, but he apologized for Britney in 2001 before he started doing all the solo stuff going up. And that's where things got better, but not really. Because the past relationship still hangs over Britney Spears. With all the things going on with Britney Spears' life, the thing that sort of may have been the catalyst of that is the breakup with Justin Timberlake, where her, the true love, just didn't work out, and everything after that just was just grasping at straws and looking for attention. That's basically how things worked out. You can go through Time magazine and look at the long, very detailed rundown of Time on that one. But this is a thing that got us thinking about this topic and got us ready to bash Justin Timberlake today. It just happened. So sorry, Justin, but your time is up. Public figure. If people care that much about me, they can bash me, but trust me, I don't have a life quite as interesting as yours. So because of that, the Britney Spears army decided to throw a little curveball at Selfish, the new Justin Timberlake track, and raise up Selfish, the older Britney Spears track. But this is not the only case of a slight that happened here that we're atoning for. Right now, this past week, Justin Timberlake made another appearance on Saturday Night Live. So technically, it's probably his seventh. He did step out with Britney Spears and she did a monologue because they were dating at the time. He did host 5 times as a regular host, but he also stepped in another issue. Because a big part of him doing this single being released is a part of his comeback. He's coming back to music, coming back to performing, not just doing nitnoid things with trolls and things here and producing folks. He's actually making music, making albums, and about to go on tour essentially to regain his status in the industry. And with that, he had an appearance as a musical guest on Saturday Night Live last weekend. With that, he sort of stepped into this as Dakota Johnson, who starred with Justin Timberlake back on The Social Network, was the actual host. because everything is so superly scripted there on the show. There are spontaneous moments that come out of things, but things are set along so things run well in the show. It was simply seen as a bit, literally. But Dakota Johnson talked about the reunion with Justin Timberlake, the musical guest that night, and then he comes out and does his sort of, I can host if you need help. I've done it 5 times, yada yada yada, and stuff like that. And of course, at the end of the bit, Jimmy Fallon comes out dressed out like Barry Gibbs, like, "Hey, we're going to do this," because it was a bit that he wasn't hosting, but he was going to do a skit. They would later do the brothers Gibb thing with Barry and the other brother Gibb in the thing. But what happened, and while it was scripted and just sounded terrible, was to talk about his comeback, because this is all part of him coming back to the stage. And so Johnson's threw out the line about, bringing sexy back. And I was like, yeah, now I guess this is me about bringing coming back as a terrible joke, which was terrible. And it was there. And it was just kind of nasty. It also just the way the bit worked, it was just seen like he was jumping on her scene, but it didn't really play out as funny as it was supposed to be. It wasn't really hilarious. It wasn't really funny. It was just sort of like he's just sort of getting in the way. And that joke was just so bad, that it bombed so bad that it made it worse. The night itself, I didn't see all of Saturday Night Live. I saw bits and clips and things, as like most people do these days. And so the night itself seemed to go fairly well, although there was some weirdness to later that night with some other the guests that were just standing around partying in the back. Dave Chappelle was there, and that was kind of weird. Other than that, it seemed like it went well. So we have 2 victims right now. The first victim, a real victim, Britney Spears, and the long time and agony she's kind of dealt with in the relationship and the breakup, and just the weirdness of people focusing on that when she's literally 19, 20 years old, at that, like she's destroying the world by breaking up with some other famous guy. How about Dakota Johnson, who, got out fairly unscathed, although I think I'd probably be embarrassed about that performance that night. But a seriously embarrassing performance that you may remember, which turned into what essentially we called Nipplegate and the wardrobe malfunction. The anniversary was this week, February the 1st, 2004, I should say. Super Bowl halftime show. This was for Super Bowl XXXVIII, just in case you needed it. It was played between the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots at Reliant Stadium in Houston, Texas, Sunday that day, because Super Bowl's on Sunday. What had happened? Janet Jackson was the headliner. She was the halftime show. She was doing a fine job doing whatever. And her rumored boyfriend at the time, Justin Timberlake, yeah, a bit young for her, but here we go. They had a thing where he was doing his song, and as he said the line, "I'm gonna have you naked by the end of this song," he grabbed the thing on her shirt and kind of pulled it. And for some odd reason, because I'm not judging, Janet Jackson had a little piece of her nipple hanging out, like circled out in the shirt, because it was there. Now, whether he was supposed to rip it off, pretty sure he wasn't supposed to. Whether he knew that the nipple was hanging out of the shirt, I guess that was a surprise for later that evening. What the hell happened in the whole protest? Well, it cost money. CBS had to pay a fine of $555,000 for essentially every time the nipple got seen on TV across the world. And across the world, other people had to do things like put out disclaimers and cover it up. And we talked about it for about 6 months. I don't think I'm exaggerating. We talked about it for about 6 months. The FCC had to figure out what to do about a nipple being shown on TV, a nipple being shown maybe on purpose by Timberlake, maybe not. Michael Powell, the son of Colin Powell, who was in charge of the FCC at the time, had to deal with this, and he wasn't happy about dealing with it, if you will. There were about 540,000 complaints. As I say, essentially, $10, a dollar for each complaint got paid for it. Canada had to deal with it. New Zealand had to deal with it. There was legal action on many sides, including Timberlake, Janet Jackson, and CBS, Viacom at the time. A group came on to actually kind of protest, and a group came on to kind of celebrate it. It got really weird at the time. It's just one of those things that happened. This is something that actually took a long time for Janet Jackson to actually get over, believe it or not. Justin Timberlake, just a dude that showed the nipple on TV. It wasn't his actual nipple, so he didn't have to deal with the actual consequences, much like the Britney Spears stuff. It seems like a simple and silly thing to talk about. It probably is. Well, yeah, it is a simple, silly thing to talk about. But hey, literally, the cards fell in the place for Justin Timberlake's bashing on this week. I'm not a hater. I'm team content. The content fell on with the fact that Britney Spears' crew brought this attention to folks, which also had the attention of the Nipplegate stuff, which also had the attention of Saturday Night Live, which I actually saw. So it was a trifecta of things I had to get into. No hate towards Justin Timberlake, just the fact that this was a bad week for him in and two things that sort of came from the past, sucking back up to the future. Hopefully, have a better week. We know he's had some. There've been talk in the background about issues with his actual home life right now with his wife Jessica Biel. We're not going to get into that. We hope that's all great and gravy. We hope he's going to do great with his music because people are going to buy it. I know I have friends who back 10 years ago were all into Timberlake stuff as we were 10 years younger. They still follow along and keep up what's going on, and they want him to do great. They want to buy his stuff as well. They also want him to have a more stable family life, which we're seeing how that's working out going forward. What we're going to see going forward for Justin Timberlake is probably great things, much greater things than in my life. For me, just some internet guy using his name to pull some clicks because that's what we're doing. But we're also going to see, hopefully, some more careful behavior from the much, much older, hopefully wiser Justin Timberlake. Because while he's still relatively young, he is at a point where the consequences of things really matter. And while people are now more open to throw jabs and throw some past truths at him, especially Britney Spears, and kind of shaking the shackles of, all these people think I'm crazy. I'm going to show you crazy. And just telling the truth as she sees it, and apparently as the truth is, it's a ordeal. Why did Timberlake get caught in crossfire? Because he did some not so great things to some people in the past, and did some stupid things like this skit on Saturday Night Live. That's just dumb. That was just bad, poor writing by whoever did that, and we should not be thinking about it. But team content had to pull something, what it is. So if you're Justin Timberlake, or you can respond for Justin Timberlake, you can send the hate your way if you want to, because that happens on the internet, or you can have a conversation with us. You can come on the Conversation Project if you'd like to. We can do that fairly easily. In the meantime, this rant is over. Go to our website, thisisaconversationproject.com. Click on the link for sponsors or for partnerships and see if you want to help me do more of this stuff, or tank it if you want to see me tank it. You can also go to the website and see all the different things we do, including the daily cast we do that's called Things You Might Have Heard. We also have the weekly wrap up, which inspired this run here, and the hot takes, which are even worse than these sometimes, that we have in 60-second forms on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, so you can see what's going on there. You can email me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com to let me know how well I'm doing, how not well I'm doing, and whether I need to go someplace and how fast I can go there. You can say that. It's online. I won't judge. I might get my feelings hurt. I cry a little bit. May cry me a river. But won't. I'll let you do what you need to do. In the meantime, the story of the week is inspired by one of the top 10 stories of the week that you have in the weekly wrap up. Look for that in a separate podcast link if you listen to the audio, or right here in this channel, because it's probably in the same feed here for YouTube and wherever, to watch that and see what 10 stories we talked about for the past week, or essentially you told us you needed to talk about for the past week, and get engaged. Go to our feeds so you can engage in what those as well. It is what it is. It just happens to be what happens to be, and we're glad to be a part of it, if you will. But we can only do this stuff around you. I mean, literally, this story was inspired by you, so don't take it personally. Take it as it is. Take it as it came down, and just kind of be with it. That's how it is. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Every time I do something, I wrap it up by saying, stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task, because you are here to do many, many great things, and I need you as a listener, a watcher, a viewer. I need those clicks. And other people need you to do actual great things. So thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Give me some comments. Give me some feedback. I love it. I love it. Love it. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the hateful stuff as well. We'll see what story we talk about next week in the story of the week.